The impact of Little Boy, a change in the history of humanity. On the 6th of August, 1945, the bomb nicknamed Little Boy was launched on Hiroshima, marking a before and after in world history. This event not only ended World War II, but also resulted in the loss of hundreds of thousands of lives. Although many defend this action, claiming it prevented a prolonged and even more devastating war, the question persists, does the end truly justify the means? The race towards nuclear weapons. In the context of World War II, both Germany and the United States fiercely competed to develop the atomic bomb. The race was mainly fought between two prominent figures, the German theoretical physicist Werner Heisenberg and the American physicist Robert Oppenheimer. Heisenberg, with the backing of the German government, quickly advanced in his nuclear development. However, the balance tipped in favor of the United States when Albert Einstein, alerted by his colleague Leo Szilard about German advances in nuclear fission, warned President Roosevelt of the imminent danger, leading to the start of the Manhattan Project, the creation of an unprecedented weapon. Oppenheimer, ambitious and determined, was chosen to lead the scientific part of the Manhattan Project. In Los Alamos, New Mexico, a team of brilliant scientists gathered and began developing the first atomic bomb. Despite numerous obstacles, the project advanced by leaps and bounds, employing more than 130,000 people and costing nearly $2 billion. In July 1945, the first nuclear test, known as the Trinity Test, was conducted. The explosion was a significant success, demonstrating the immense power of the bomb. Upon seeing the explosion, Oppenheimer recalled a phrase from the sacred Hindu text, the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." This test paved the way for the bomb's use in Japan. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, strategic and devastating decisions. The first atomic bomb, Little Boy, was dropped on Hiroshima from the Enola Gay aircraft. The decision to attack Hiroshima was based on several criteria, including the psychological and strategic value of the target. The explosion affected a radius of 1.6 kilometers and resulted in the immediate loss of approximately 100,000 lives, leaving permanent scars on the city and its inhabitants. The intense heat and radiation caused horrific injuries and long-term health effects for the survivors, known as hibakusha. Despite this destruction, Japan did not surrender immediately, leading to the launch of a second bomb, Fat Man, on Nagasaki. This second attack resulted in the loss of more than 80,000 lives and ultimately led to Japan's surrender on the 15th of August, 1945. The signing of the surrender, held on the 2nd of September, 1945 aboard the USS Missouri, officially marked the end of the war. The ceremony was attended by representatives of the Allied powers, and it symbolized not only the end of hostilities but also the beginning of a new geopolitical era. Reflections and debates. The use of atomic bombs in Japan remains a topic of intense debate. Some argue that these actions accelerated the end of the war and prevented a prolonged and costly invasion, which could have resulted in even higher casualties on both sides. They claim that the bombs forced Japan to surrender unconditionally, thus avoiding a drawn-out conflict that would have caused more suffering and destruction. Others, however, argue that less devastating alternatives could have been explored, such as demonstrations of power or explicit warnings to the Japanese government. They believe that the use of such a destructive weapon on civilian populations was morally indefensible and that it set a dangerous precedent for future conflicts. Critics also point out that the bombings caused immense suffering for the survivors and their descendants, who have had to deal with the long-term effects of radiation exposure, including cancer and genetic damage. The broader implications of nuclear weapons. The creation of nuclear weapons introduced a new era of fear and paranoia, establishing a balance of power based on mutually assured destruction. This concept suggests that the fear of nuclear retaliation deters nations from initiating conflicts, fostering a tense but stable peace. However, the existence of such weapons also means that the potential for catastrophic destruction is always present, creating a world where the stakes of conflict are unimaginably high. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki also had significant political and social implications. They demonstrated the devastating power of nuclear weapons and underscored the importance of international cooperation in preventing their proliferation. The attacks prompted efforts to regulate and control nuclear technology, leading to treaties and agreements aimed at preventing the spread of nuclear weapons and promoting disarmament. Personal opinions. In my opinion, the dropping of the bombs on Japan was not justified. The war was practically won, and Japan lacked the resources to continue the conflict. The United States could have opted for less destructive strategies. Without external support, Japan's surrender was inevitable. This act seems more like a display of power than a military necessity, casting a dark shadow over the victors and the true motivations behind this decision. It is important to remember that the winners often write history, and the narratives we accept may sometimes obscure the more complex and darker realities of past actions. Conclusion: the impact of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki forever transformed the global dynamic, introducing the fear of total destruction and altering the balance of power. The debate over the justification of these attacks remains, and everyone must form their own opinion on whether this act was a necessary evil or an unnecessary display of destructive power. If you found this analysis interesting, I invite you to subscribe to my channel for more similar content. Your comments and suggestions are always welcome. What do you think about the use of atomic bombs? Do you believe it was a justified action or an unnecessary display of power? Let me know in the comments.